Kalanidhi ji.
Madam, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak on the motion of thanks of the President's address, Madam. Madam, we all know it is customary that the President, though it is her address, we know it is not her views, and it is the views of the government which has prepared the speech for her. And so whatever comments or criticisms are made, it can be understood that it is not made against the Honorable President, and it is against the government which has prepared this draft for her. I can't hear you. Anyway, let me continue with this.
Prime Minister.
I'm actually surprised that not many senior ministers are here to listen to what the opposition has to speak about, Madam. This has been the problem where any time when the opposition members are raising some issues, neither is it answered nor is it reflected upon. Madam, coming to the speech, Madam, the first point that the President had spoken is about the Constitution, the 75th anniversary of adoption of our Constitution. In that, we are talking so much about the Constitution, but it is sad to note the 17th Parliament and the 18th Parliament has not had a Deputy Speaker, Madam.
Yes.
The Deputy Speaker is a constitutionally provided post which has to be filled, and this government has, in the first paragraph itself, they have broken the Constitution where they have made it saying that you don't even have a confidence in having even one of your allies from either the TDP or the JDU to be made the Deputy Speaker. So I hope that the government will look into this and make sure that a Deputy Speaker is appointed for the Lok Sabha, Madam. And the next paragraph, what they're talking about, the Mahakumbh. Everybody is talking about the Mahakumbh, which happens once in 144 years. And it is very sad to note that so many deaths have happened. So far, what has been reported is 30 deaths and 60 people injured. But we are suspicious of these news articles because whenever a major calamity of this extent happens in this country, we expect the ministry, the Home Minister, to come and give a statement in the Parliament of this House to mention what exactly has happened and what measures have been taken for relief and for the support of the people over there, and what safety measures are taken to ensure that it does not happen again in future. I actually am sad that this government has not bothered about, though they claim themselves to be a Hindutva party, they do not care about the people who have died over there. And then the next point they are talking about is housing for all, Madam. When they're talking about housing for all, the government says that the union government is providing funds for the housing for all. But actually, if you look into the amount of money which is being sanctioned, most of the amount which is being sanctioned is from the state governments, Madam. The state governments are the ones which are doing it. And if you note, the amount which is being allocated for the funds are not being utilized because only in states, in southern states or developed states, where these funds are fully utilized, and most of the other states are not utilizing it, and these funds are going totally wasted, Madam. And the government is also talking so much about trains, the Vande Bharat, and so many other trains that this government has launched. Earlier in my speech, I had spoken when I was talking about Chandrayaan. I was talking about we can always boast saying that we are the first nation to land at the south pole of the moon. But you have to take into account that development of a nation is not based only on one particular event. So you also have to see how many accidents are happening in these trains, Madam. You see in the news of late, every month there is some kind of an incident where there is a derailment or there is a collision with losing so many lives. And the government has been mum about that. And usually in the earlier years, we have found that when some major calamity happens, the concerned minister takes responsibility for it and steps down. But here, we are not even bothered about the loss of lives, and we continue as if nothing has happened, though hundreds of people lose their lives. We are expecting, like when we are comparing ourselves with developed nations like Japan, they are running something called as a bullet train, where they have been doing it for several decades, and not a single instance of a fatality or not even a minor crash has ever happened. I hope the country would be able to achieve something like that so that we can call ourselves a developed nation, Madam. Madam, the government and the Honorable Prime Minister constantly keep talking about Viksit Bharat. I really would like to understand what they mean by saying Viksit Bharat, because the moment you say a developed nation, the criteria, the economic criteria for that is that you have to have a per capita income of $15,000, Madam. $15,000 is the target set for calling yourself. Though China has about $6,500, still it is not considered as a developed nation. We are in a sad paltry amount of 2,500 US dollars is our per capita income right now. And the government has said that we are going to achieve a target of $5 trillion in 2030. Even if you do achieve $5 trillion, your per capita income will only be 3,250 US dollars, madam. So when you are talking about this, I cannot understand how you can say that we are working towards a Viksit Bharat. The main problem, what we are facing now, is our Honorable Prime Minister has always been saying, make in India. When you say make in India, you only can become a manufacturing hub, madam. The present requirement for the whole world is to think in your own country, to be able to think and come out with some kind of intellectual properties. If you look at the largest companies which are performing, madam, hardly 5 minutes, madam. Madam, if you are looking at what amount of development and growth happens in developed nations, it is not because they are making it in India. If you look at the developed nations, most of the manufacturing has been exported to other countries like China, Indonesia, India, Vietnam. But those people are working on things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which generates a lot more revenue. So I hope the country will focus on developing artificial intelligence and making sure that you will be able to achieve heights of growth in the terms of about 15% or 20%, madam. Unless you do that, we can never ever dream of becoming a developed India nation in the next 100 years also. Madam, the other thing is, our Honorable Chief Minister has brought out a book called Antiquity of Iron. This is translated to in Tamil, Irumbin Tonmai. This pushes the Iron Age back to 3450 BC, madam. Madam, I am surprised that the Honorable Prime Minister has not even mentioned this in any of his Twitter accounts, or not the President's address. It's not been taken account. Madam, this is something which is not a proud moment for Tamils alone, madam. It is a proud moment for the whole of India, and it is to say that the Iron Age started in India. It started from India, from Tamil Nadu, and if you had mentioned that, it is something where archaeologists world over are looking at us with awe, madam. They are so shocked that our technology, 3450 BC, where we could smelt iron, and this is not being appreciated and acknowledged by the Honorable Prime Minister, is very sad, and I hope that the government passes a resolution over here congratulating the archaeologists and all the people who are involved in getting this happening, madam. Madam, if you are looking at the China and India, the economy, China has an economy of almost $18 trillion or more, madam. We are still struggling to achieve $5 trillion. And you are talking about make in India, where Atmanirbhar Bharat, where you want to make everything here. But sadly, in the last 10 years, $600 billion US is our trade deficit, where you have lost out the amount of money where this country could have reached export surplus, where we could have been trade positive. But that has not been achieved in 10 years. I hope this country focuses on ensuring that we are a trade surplus country and ensuring that, madam, our leader and also already our leader had spoken, madam, how the government is talking. And the president, in the last line, she has told that this is a country with 140 crore people. But the government is not behaving such way, madam. Madam, the government has ensured that the minorities, the Dalits, and the other communities are all oppressed, where you are treating as though India is consisting only of a country of 60 crores, and you are neglecting all of them. And I'm hoping that you will be able to rectify that, because if you are talking about the Islamic community, 20 crore people, when you talk about bulldozers, you are pushing them into a brink where you are inciting their emotions, which is not healthy for this nation. I hope they will stop with this, madam. Thank you very much.
माननीय श्री राजकुमार